The Sawtooth Mountains are a rugged mountain range located in central Idaho, renowned for their dramatic, jagged peaks that resemble the teeth of a saw stretching over 40 miles. These mountains are part of a larger Rocky Mountain range and are protected within the Sawtooth National Recreation Area. The region is known for its pristine alpine lakes, dense forests, and abundant wildlife, making it a popular destination for hikers, campers, and outdoor enthusiasts. The Sawtooth Mountains were considered for national park status in the mid-20th century, but strong local opposition, especially from ranchers, miners, and residents, halted the effort. Many feared that the national park designation would bring stricter federal regulations, limit traditional land uses like grazing and hunting, and reduce local control. As a compromise, Congress established the Sawtooth National Recreation Area in 1972, preserving the landscape while allowing more flexible land use under the U.S. Forest Service management. Because it's not a national park, you don't have to get a backcountry permit in advance. A couple miles up the trail is a registration box where you fill out a card on the spot with your trip information. Mostly the names of the people in your party and the number of days you'll be out, and you leave one copy in the box and keep one copy with you on your hike. We were never asked to show it because we never saw any officials on our hike. As we continued to gain elevation, about 3.5 miles into the hike, we had to cross Yellow Belly Creek, which you could walk over on a log. It was a beautiful clear stream with babbling water, and we stopped there to have a snack. We also took the opportunity to top off our water bottles there. For the next mile or so, the trail followed the creek, and we got to see some nice little waterfalls. We continued up the trail, we came across a huge rock slide, which made for difficult hiking as we had to find our footing. But soon that opened up into a nice clearing, which gave us some of our first good views of the mountains we'd be hiking up in the coming days.
That's nice.
Everything we need right here. We got a breakfast.
Wow. Oh, cool.
Then, after about 6 miles of hiking and 2.5 hours, we came to our campsite, overlooking Lake Farley on 3 sides from atop a hill. The views were beautiful.
Home sweet home? Yes, it is.
We set up our tents as the clouds rolled in. We knew there was overnight rain in the forecast, so we put on our rain flies and made sure they were good and tight. 2 friends from Atlanta would be joining us later on. Their flight into Boise was about an hour behind us, so we set aside a tent site for them, and they met up with us just before dark.
Alright, I want to see if I can find a good place to filter water, and it looks like I found it. Rain is starting to come down, just a little bit. It's a light rain, so we're not going to complain about that. We can handle light rain. Alright. Some good water.
I kind of like the evening task of filtering water. Though it takes some time and effort, it gives you a chance to take in your surroundings and observe the nature around you. It also makes you appreciate how important water is and how much we all take it for granted at home when it just flows from the faucet with no effort at all.
Oh yeah. That's good. That's the stuff right there. Cool as a mountain stream.
We were quite tired since we woke up at 2:30 a.m. to travel from St. Louis, so we were in our tents just before dark. We slept fairly well, except for being awoken just before dawn. I recorded myself the next morning talking about it. Something really interesting happened in the middle of the night at about 6 a.m. There were rock slides above us, like not above our campground, kind of the area behind me there, those mountains behind me, there was rock slides there, and it lasted for like several minutes. We had kind of no idea what was going on. At first we thought it was a storm was coming, but then the wind was calm and there was no lightning or anything, and I don't know, we thought maybe flash flood. There's been some flash flood warnings lately, but it didn't. It rained lightly last night, but not bad, so that didn't seem possible. So anyway, we figured out it's rock slides. So it was kind of scary sounding. It sounded very powerful, but we were safe, of course. So that was not something on our hiking bingo card to watch out for rock slides. It's a gorgeous day. said, it was a foggy morning, but the fog is lifting now. It's now like 11, almost 11:30, but we don't have a real aggressive schedule, which is nice. Sometimes when we go on hikes, we do big miles each day, but we got all day to do about a 5-mile hike. This is Lake Farley behind us. It's our first stop. And then tonight we're gonna camp by another lake. I forget what it is, Lake Edna maybe? Anyway, okay. Enjoying the nature out here, it's beautiful. We left our campsite and started back out on Yellow Belly Trail, this time as a group of 5. The trail continued to follow Yellow Belly Creek, and the occasional waterfalls and stream crossings were a treat. This day would have us doing the exact same mileage we did the prior day at just under 6 miles, but we would be ascending up an additional 1,000 feet. We came across a huge rock slide, and after the prior night's events, we crossed it with a little more reverence, thinking of the massive event that caused it. But there was a clear trail cut through the rock slide, so we knew this particular one hadn't happened too recently. The first couple miles we hiked were sunny and clear, but soon the clouds rolled in again, billowing over the mountain peaks and making everything look even more magical. We stopped to eat lunch beside a small lake nestled at the base of yet another rock slide, and just below the mountain pass we were going to need to climb after lunch. Yeah. We're going up there. The trail was quite challenging after lunch, with lots of steep switchbacks getting us up to the pass. But once we made it, the view of Lake Imogene was very welcome, as it meant it was all downhill from here for day 2.
Wow.
Dang, tomorrow morning sucks. They do that again.
We made good time getting down the mountain and found a great site to camp right at the bank of Lake Imogene. I set up my hammock lakeside just to relax and take in the views. Some of the others tried their hand at fishing in the lake and a nearby creek with some success. As dusk approached, a light rain started to fall again, and I was actually fine with having a good excuse to retreat to my tent early. Tomorrow was going to be a big day. Day 3 would be our hardest day by far. We would need to cover twice the distance of the previous 2 days and ascend over 2,500 feet and go over 3 mountain passes. With a long day ahead of us, we started out at 8 a.m. with our cold weather gear on. The first order of business was to retrace our steps from the prior day to go back over the steep mountain pass that separated us from Edith Lake. After 2 miles of backtracking on the Alice Lake Trail, we were back on trails that we hadn't been on before, and they offered some amazing views. At one point we were able to look back towards Pettit Lake where we started and Farley Lake where we camped on night 1. The trail took us up our second mountain climb of the day as clouds started to roll in. When we finally got to the pass, one side of the ridge was completely covered in fog while the other was fairly clear. We rested a bit up there to catch our breath and watch the rapidly changing weather. After we crossed over the mountain ridge, we hiked in fog for a while, but thankfully soon it cleared up and we were able to get our first view of Toxaway Lake, where we planned to eat lunch. I think because the lake was so large, I thought it was much closer than it was. It was a deceptive 3 miles to hike from the top of the mountain where we first saw it down to the lakeside. This is beautiful. We took a good long lunch stop at the side of a tranquil Toxaway Lake. We knew we still had 1 more mountain pass to climb, and we would need calories and rested legs to get over those 1,000 feet of elevation yet to go. As we left Toxaway Lake and started to ascend yet again, we came across several small lakes filled with the cloudy turquoise water that indicates it is being fed from mineral-rich glaciers.
We're getting some sleet. 8,600 feet.
It was another difficult ascent up the mountain pass across some rugged and rocky trail. But when we got to the top, we were rewarded with yet another fabulous view of alpine lakes.
Wow, awesome. We're approaching home sweet home for the night. Alice Lake.
We hadn't had much sun this day, but thankfully the campsite beside Alice Lake gave us beautiful warm sunshine to bask in while we set up our tents and made dinner. However, the clouds did start to roll in again, and this night would have us facing our coldest temperatures of the trip. Overnight it got down into the 20s, but thankfully our cold weather camping gear kept us comfortable, and when we awoke, we only had frosty tents and packs, but no frostbite.
All right, taking off. Time to get out of here.
On the road.
On the road, hitting the trail.
Day 4 was our final day, and it was going to be our easiest day of hiking. It would be 6 miles, but it would be all downhill from Alice Lake back to the car at Pettit Lake. John and I left at first light because we had a flight to catch in Boise later that day, while the others could take a more relaxed morning. The trail followed right along Alice Lake for quite a while, and seeing the morning fog swirling over the lake was really neat.
Oh, baby. Wow, what a view. Oh, that's cool. So I think there's a pretty bad rock slide here at some point, maybe somewhat recently. Look at all that. Woo. Thankfully the trail is passable.
As the sun began to rise over the mountains, we knew we were going to have some great views on our way out on this clear day. You could see for dozens of miles across the valley outside of the Sawtooth National Recreation Area. Occasionally we would run into patches of bright yellow aspens, changing for autumn here in early October. Their colors were just breathtaking in the morning sun.
There it is, Petite Lake. And this hike is almost done, less than a mile to go. Woo! We made it back. Day 4 is complete. 6.5 miles, pretty much all downhill. It was great. Did it in 2 hours and 50 minutes. Pretty good. And there's the car.
And with that, we were done. We had covered over 30 miles and ascended over 5,500 feet. Day 1 was the turquoise part going to Farley Lake. Day 2 was the green trail and the purple trail to Imogen Lake. Day 3 was the light purple trail to Alice Lake. And day 4 was the dark purple path back to Pettit Lake. The trip was everything I wanted it to be. A great time with great friends. We were safe, we stayed mostly warm and dry, and we encountered no bears. The hikes were more challenging than I was expecting, but the evenings at camp made it so worth it. We had some of the most amazing campsites I'd ever experienced in all my backpacking. In the 4 days we were there, we only saw 4 other backpackers on the trail, and we never saw or heard anyone by our campsites. I would definitely recommend the Sawtooth Mountains for anyone who's looking for some time away from people and to reconnect with nature. Just watch out for rock slides.